All right, the DXY, starting off on the 5-day Gaussian channel. 5-day Gaussian channel is not often covered with the DXY, but we're covering it here. And if this were a coin, right, you turned from red to green, your price action is on top. That is your go time, go signal, right? So back in late November, early December, that was a confirmation that the DXY was getting ready to go on a tear. So we've covered this briefly before, but that, hindsight's always 2020. But here is the tell-all sign, right? So now, not only do we have a complete, absolute runaway jet, we actually have our moving averages separating very bigly, in the biggest way, right? So let's zoom out and let's take a look-see at the Gaussian channel in history. And we can see now that when we turn green, we tend to not stop. And not only have we turned green, and not only have we rocketed up, we're in the SpaceX Falcon Heavy, we are now approaching zero resistance until, upwards of 120, right? We're looking at, possibly, up in this area, which, we haven't been at the high we are now for 20 years, right? Just 20 years, right? Let that 20 years, no, just let that sink in, right? The US dollar is the most powerful it has been per chart, not arguable, since 20 years ago. Blow your mind yet? Does your mind pick up your mind from the table? It's blown to pieces. All right. I think I heard this morning that the U.S. dollar is equal to the euros now, which that blows my mind, right? That hasn't happened in over 20 years as well. So euros to dollars almost equal. I mean, where are we right now? Okay, so just looking at the facts, let's shake our biases aside and look at this as the facts. Let's go to the weekly chart, right? With the Gaussian channel still on, looks about as the same, right? 5 days to weekly is not that much of a difference, but still strong weekly candle, no end in sight, right? No end in sight until we get some kind of a candle that looks like, very toppy, like we're Gravestone Doji or something. That would be nice to do on the weekly, right? We're still looking absolutely strong. Let's go up to the bigger chart, right? Let's look at a monthly chart and see if we got anything, right? I mean, just green after green after green. Now, what do we notice difference about this chart? The Gaussian channel on the monthly is red, right? So usually when that happens, it's not good signs. But look where we are here, right? So I have a feeling we're on the verge of doing something like this, right? We may have just started. Now, could we have, 6-month pullbacks and crypto gets a breath of fresh air? Sure, that could happen, right? Or even a couple months, right? If we have a correction like we did in 98, right? When we went from basically 102 all the way down to 91, yeah, crypto could get a little run here. Maybe like the summer 2019 bubble for crypto, when Bitcoin went from 3K to 14K and, over the summer. Maybe that scenario would let that play out, right? But still, if this Gaussian channel in the monthly turns green, we would likely going to be in a spot of trouble. So I mean, just look at the charts, and I mean, no matter where you look at it, no matter how you slice it, it's bullish all around. Even when it's bearish, it's bullish, right? go riddle me that, Tom Riddle. But look at the moving averages, right? When you have your monthly moving averages, EMA 8, right, taking off in a big way. Look at the separation, sorted least to greatest. I mean, that's a good sign, man. If this was or girl, if this was a coin, this is what you want to be in, right? There's no clear sign until 120 for a top, and that's not even like a thing anymore, right? I mean, look at this pattern, right? Going back to in the 80s, right, back in here, right? I mean, forbid God, hopefully not, right? I mean, now we're just my mind can't even fathom if we blow past this. We need a Fed 180 or a black swan event for the US dollar, right? I think this is probably the blow off top for the US dollar. If I had to, narrow, gun to my head, tell me what the DXY is doing. I would say it's, I would say maybe it's entering its final phase before, never heard from again. Maybe the US dollar is dying. It should, right? You're printing trillions. I know the DXY doesn't have that much to do with printing money, but obviously, right, as you can see, the US dollar is gaining. It's just, if you don't know, like the DXY is the US dollar. The DXY is just a measure against other currencies. It's like the sixth best out of the currencies, right? So it's gaining power, like I just said about the euro, right? It has very little to do with, inflation or printing money, right? So it's kind of often misconstrued. I don't even know what word I just said. I think I mixed two. That's what the DXY does to you on the monthly chart. It messes with your head. So let's do one more. Let's do one more. Well, for the four of you that are still watching, right, the Gaussian channel's got to go. It's not useful in a yearly. So now let's look at this. So these are annual candles. So annual candles are not looked at a whole lot, right? Maybe not always useful, but with something with this long of a term, I mean, we're going back to 1967 here, right? So we're looking at our previous all-time high, 152. I doubt we'll ever get there again. Maybe we double top, at the monthly 116, right? So maybe we could do something like that. If we did that, then, maybe that spells years of disaster ahead for the US dollar. And we'd end up, doing something, like this coming up, and then, just fizzling out, and then, death to the dollar. And that something like that would actually lead, this again, if we could form this perfect circle around this mark, right? Let me remove this. I'm sure you see this, right? If this were to happen again, and we go from, 116 all the way down here, if Bitcoin was around down here, good night, right? This would be the run from like 100K to a million right here, right? So if we do that again, right? 100K to a million right there. It would, hopefully it doesn't take, 20 years. It's January of 2043. But you never know. Maybe it does take that long, right? For Bitcoin to get to a million. Hey, I would take it, right? 20 years for $1 million for one Bitcoin. All right, I'll end it at that. We'll end $1 million Bitcoin. Do you hear the last thing Chase said? He said $1 million Bitcoin by tomorrow. All right, I'll see you on the next one.